The sky over Earth was no longer blue. It glowed with fire and smoke, a canvas painted by war. Cities that had once been alive with laughter and light now burned like candles left to die. Children who once played in the streets now huddled in shelters, their small hands covering their ears as thunder from the heavens shook the ground. Humanity had always believed the stars were beautiful, a mystery to be explored. But on this day the stars had become a graveyard. The Zir fleet had come without mercy. They were hunters from beyond the dark, creatures of cold steel and colder hearts. Their ships moved like shadows across the night sky, black and sharp, blotting out starlight as they rained destruction upon Earth. For weeks they had broken through defenses, tearing apart stations and colonies, leaving only ashes behind. Now they had reached the homeworld itself, humanity's cradle, humanity's last hope. In orbit the battle raged. Thousands of human ships fought desperately, but they were outnumbered, outgunned, and exhausted. The void glittered with explosions, each burst of light marking the death of a crew, a family, a story cut short. Even the proudest of Earth's fleets struggled against the endless swarm of alien warships. On the bridge of the UES Valor, Admiral Reyes stood tall. His face was hard, lined with years of war, but his eyes revealed the truth: despair. The bow screens around him glowed red with warnings, shield levels dropping, hull integrity failing, ammunition nearly spent. Still his voice carried strength as he gave the order again and again. Hold the line. Fight to the last. His crew obeyed, though fear gripped their hearts. They were young, too young. Many were barely out of academy, hands trembling as they loaded missiles and locked targets. They knew what was at stake. Behind them was Earth, their families, their entire species. If the fleet fell here, there would be no one left to fight tomorrow. The Valor shook as enemy fire struck its hull. Sparks burst from the ceiling. The deck groaned like a dying beast. A young officer shouted, "Admiral, shields at 20%. Her voice cracked, betraying the fear she tried to hide. Reyes gritted his teeth. 20% meant nothing. It was already over. He knew it, and so did she. But he gave the only order he could. Keep firing. If we fall, we take them with us. For a heartbeat, silence filled him. Not the silence of the bridge, but the silence in his own chest where hope used to be. He remembered his daughter, waiting for him on Earth. Her last message filled with pride and love. He had promised he would come home. Now he doubted he ever would. Across the planet, ordinary people prayed. Soldiers fought in burning streets, rifles clutched in bleeding hands. Pilots streaked through the sky, outnumbered 10-1, yet still, pulling the trigger. Farmers, workers, teachers all looked up and wondered if this was the last sunset they would ever see. Humanity had always been stubborn, always refused to kneel. But even stubbornness has its limits, and in that terrible moment a thought spread through the fleet. We are alone. No allies, no miracles, no cavalry waiting beyond the stars. Humanity had shouted into the void for centuries, searching for friends. None had answered. Now as the enemy descended to finish what they started, it seemed the universe had chosen to remain silent. On the Valor, Admiral Reyes bowed his head. His crew waited for his next order, but in his heart, he whispered a farewell to Earth, to the sky, to everything he loved. The battle was nearly lost. The sky burned brighter and brighter still, and then, just beyond the edge of sensors, something moved. The storm did not stop. The Zir fleet pressed forward like a tide of steel and fire, filling the sky with terror. Their weapons cut through. Human ships as if they were paper, tearing apart carriers and patrol craft with cruel precision. The void became a graveyard of broken hulls, drifting bodies, and sparks of dying light. Humanity's defense was cracking, and the enemy knew it. On the UES Valor, Admiral Reyes stood at the center of the chaos. His voice was calm, but inside his chest, his heart pounded like a drum of war. His crew worked frantically, shouting, coordinates, locking targets, firing every weapon they had. The bridge shook again and again as the Valor was struck. "Shields at 10%, a technician cried. His hands trembled as he clutched the console. Sweat rolled down his forehead. Another. Voice shouted. "We've lost the horizon." "She's gone, Admiral." Reyes closed his eyes for half a second. The horizon had been one of their strongest carriers, filled with thousands of souls. Gone in a heartbeat. He could almost hear the echoes of their screams as fire consumed them. But there was no time to mourn. "Keep formation," Reyes barked. "Don't give them an opening. Hold the line, damn it." The crew obeyed, though fear thickened the air like smoke. Many of them knew they would not survive this day. Yet they fought anyway because Earth was behind them. Their families were below, watching the sky burn. Surrender was not an option. The Valor fired its railguns, streaks of light tearing into a Zir destroyer. The alien ship shuddered, burning from within. But then, with terrifying speed, another Zir cruiser moved in to replace it. For every enemy they destroyed, 2 more seemed to appear. It felt endless, like trying to fight the ocean with bare hands. A young officer, no older than 20, whispered under his breath, "We can't win this." His voice cracked with despair. He thought no one heard, but Admiral Reyes did. The words cut into him like a blade, not because they were disrespectful, but because they were true. He remembered all the battles humanity had fought before, against famine, against plague, against itself. Always, they had survived. Always, they had found a way. But now the enemy was not human. Now the enemy did not know mercy, did not understand fear. The Zir were machines of conquest, and Earth was simply their next prize. The Valor shook violently. Consoles burst into sparks. A crew member screamed as smoke filled the bridge. A medical officer rushed to drag him away while alarms wailed. The ship was dying piece by piece, yet it fought on. "Admiral," another officer shouted, "we're running out of missiles. Only 20 left." Reyes gripped the railing so tightly his knuckles turned white. 20 missiles against hundreds of alien ships. It was hopeless. Still, he forced the words through his lips. "Make every shot count." The officer nodded, though his eyes watered with fear. Outside the windows of the bridge, the battle was a nightmare. Explosions bloomed across the darkness. Human fighters darted between massive alien warships, often crushed in seconds. One brave pilot rammed his burning craft straight into a Zir battleship, taking it down in a blaze of sacrifice. On Earth, the ground trembled as debris rained down. Fires spread, through forests, through cities, through homes. Admiral Reyes looked at the planet below. His heart clenched. This was not just a battle for territory. It was for survival itself. Humanity had no colonies to retreat to, no safe harbor in the stars. This was the last stand. If Earth fell, everything fell. For a brief moment, he allowed himself to think of his daughter again. Her smile, her laugh, the way she had said, "Come back safe, Daddy." He had promised her. And now, as he stared at the endless wall of alien firepower, he wondered if he had lied. On the fleet's comms, voices of other captains filled the air. Some cried for reinforcements that would never come. Others cursed the enemy with their last breaths before static swallowed them. The human fleet was shrinking fast, their lights going out one by one. The enemy pushed harder, sensing weakness. The Zir dreadnoughts moved closer, preparing to unleash their ultimate weapons. Their cold efficiency filled Reyes with rage. They saw humanity as nothing, just insects to be crushed underfoot. He slammed his fist against the console. "We are not insects," he growled. "We are not finished." But even as he spoke, a dreadful truth haunted him. His words were brave, but bravery alone could not stop what was coming. The Valor shook again, lights flickered, the sky outside burned brighter, and in the pit of his stomach Reyes felt it. The end was near. The battle was collapsing. Every human ship in orbit now fought with desperation, not with hope. The UES Valor burned from nose to stern, its shields gone, its hull cracked. Admiral Reyes still gave orders, but he knew the truth. Earth's fleet was seconds away from shattering completely. On the view screen, the Zir dreadnought loomed larger, its massive cannons charging for a strike that would finish them. The alien vessel was a mountain of steel and malice, bigger than any human city, crawling with deadly turrets. One shot from that monster could break what was left of humanity's defense. The bridge crew of the Valor braced. Some whispered prayers. Some clenched their fists, refusing to close their eyes even in the face of death. Reyes stood tall at the center, refusing to let his crew see him fall into despair. If this was the end, then he would face it with open eyes. But then, something strange stirred at the edge of the battlefield. At first, no one noticed. It was only a flicker on the sensors, a distortion of light that lasted a second too long. A junior officer squinted at his screen, frowning. "Admiral, I'm picking up something, but it doesn't make sense." "Explain," Reyes said. His voice was tired but sharp. The officer hesitated. "It's not a ship. Or maybe it is. It's like a shadow in space. Our sensors can't lock on." On the main view screen, the stars rippled. Like a curtain being pulled away, space itself seemed to bend. Pilots nearby swore they saw a ghost shimmer across their HUDs. For a heartbeat, everyone thought it was a trick of the dying sensors, another sign of systems failing under stress. And then it happened. The distortion peeled back, and a massive ship decloaked. Gasps filled the bridge. For a moment, no one spoke. Even the Zir fleet seemed to hesitate. The unknown vessel was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Sleek and dark, its surface shimmered with flowing blue veins of light, as if it carried a heartbeat within its hull. It was larger than the Valor, larger than any Earth carrier, yet it moved with a strange elegance. Its design was alien, but not the cold, jagged terror of the Zir. This ship seemed alive, ancient, powerful, and silent. "What in God's name?" whispered a crew member. Reyes narrowed his eyes. He had fought in space all his life, and he knew one truth. No ship of that size came without purpose. But whose side was it on? The question burned through every human mind at once. Was this another enemy? A new predator come to feast on a dying world, or was it something else? The Zir ships reacted first. A squadron of alien fighters broke off from the main assault, moving toward the unknown ship. Their weapons lit up, streaking fire across the void. The strange vessel did not move. For a heartbeat, it seemed to simply watch. Then it answered. From its side, beams of brilliant white light erupted faster and brighter than anything humanity had built. The first Zir fighter vanished, torn apart instantly. The second disintegrated. The third tried to flee but was sliced in half. The entire squadron was gone in seconds, their wreckage drifting silently into the void. The bridge of the Valor erupted with stunned voices. "It's fighting the Zir!" someone shouted. "It's helping us!" Reyes felt his chest tighten, not with fear this time, but with something far rarer. Hope. The unknown ship turned its prow slowly toward the Zir fleet, as if declaring its allegiance with no words, only action. Its glowing veins pulsed brighter, like the rhythm of a heart ready for war. "Admiral," said the young officer with trembling hands. "What do we do?" Reyes took a deep breath. The decision was easy, though his voice cracked as he spoke. Match its targets. Fight beside it. For the first time that day, humanity was not alone. Across the battlefield, weary human pilots cried out with renewed courage. Ships that had been seconds from retreat surged forward again, following the lead of the mysterious Titan. Railguns fired. Missiles streaked. Together, they pushed back against the enemy tide. But even as cheers filled the Valor, Admiral Reyes stood silently, eyes locked on the strange vessel. Who were they? Where had they come from? And why now when all seemed lost? He did not know the answers. But deep inside, he whispered a truth to himself. Someone out there has decided we are worth saving. And in that moment, as the unknown ship lit the void with fire, humanity believed it too. The battlefield shifted. Where moments before there had been only despair, now there was fire. Hope made real. The unknown ship unleashed its fury against the Zir, and the void lit up like a storm of suns. Its weapons were unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Streams of radiant white energy carved through enemy cruisers as though they were paper. Each blast was precise, clean, merciless. A Zir destroyer tried to dodge, but the alien ship anticipated the move, striking it mid-turn. The vessel exploded, breaking apart into burning fragments that scattered across the blackness of space. On the UES Valor, Admiral Reyes and his crew watched in awe. For the first time that day, the kill markers on their screens turned blue, not red. The Zir were dying. "Admiral, they're tearing through them," cried an officer, her face shining with disbelief. Reyes did not answer immediately. He was too focused, his sharp eyes following the rhythm of the mysterious ship. Whoever commanded it fought with precision, almost with grace. This was no reckless savior. This was a warrior, experienced and unshaken. And now, it was fighting for Earth. "Lock onto its targets," Reyes ordered at last. "We'll give them everything we've got." Human ships surged with new energy. Missiles fired in unison with the alien vessel's beams. Fighters darted through the chaos, covering its flanks as though they had drilled together for years. For the first time, humanity fought not as prey, but as equals beside something greater. The Zir were stunned. Their formation broke, their ships scattering as the mysterious newcomer cut through their numbers. They were used to dominating every battlefield, to crushing resistance swiftly and without cost, but now their losses mounted with every second, and their confidence wavered. One by one, human captains found their courage again. "Push forward," shouted a frigate commander. "Don't let them regroup," cried another. Even the smallest patrol crafts joined the charge, their pilots roaring with defiance. Some laughed wildly, tears in their eyes, because they had believed their lives were already over. And now, somehow, they had a chance. The Valor shook again, as enemy fire struck it, but this time, no one cried out in despair. Instead, the crew held their posts firmly, shouting back against the storm with renewed determination. "Target that cruiser," Reyes commanded. "Firing all rails," came the reply. A Zir ship erupted under their combined assault. The bridge filled with cheers. For once, the humans were not only surviving, they were winning. But the enemy was not yet beaten. From the heart of their fleet, the massive Zir dreadnought began to advance. Its sheer size dwarfed everything else, even the mysterious ship. Its weapons hummed with dark energy, preparing for a blast that could split continents. Rhea's stomach tightened. "They're bringing in their monster." All eyes turned to the unknown ship. Would it stay? Would it face this nightmare, or vanish as suddenly as it had appeared? The answer came in silence. The alien vessel adjusted its course, sliding smoothly into the dreadnought's path. Its glowing veins pulsed brighter, the light racing across its hull like fire through veins. It was not retreating. It was standing firm. A hush fell across the Valor's bridge. Everyone understood the meaning. Whoever these strangers were, they were not afraid to stand at humanity's side, even against impossible odds. The Zir dreadnought fired. A colossal beam of crimson energy lanced across the void. Smaller ships were vaporized instantly, shields cracking like glass. The unknown ship caught the blast head-on. Its shields blazed with blinding light, bending under the pressure. The hull groaned, sections tearing away, but still it held. Reyes's crew gasped in unison. The ship was protecting them, protecting Earth. And then through the smoke and flame, the mysterious vessel fired back. A single focused beam of pure white light cut through the darkness, slamming into the dreadnought's side. The alien warship shuddered. Armor plates cracked. A ripple of explosions ran across its massive hull. It wasn't destroyed, but it had been hurt. And the battlefield knew it. "By God," Reyes whispered, voice trembling with awe. "They're buying us time." Around the Valor, human ships surged forward again, screaming their defiance into the void. Every last missile was fired. Every railgun hammered. Even broken ships limped forward just to get one more shot in. The mysterious vessel led them, its brilliance carving a path through the black tide. The fight for Earth was no longer a slaughter. It was a war. And for the first, Time in living memory, humanity was not alone in it. The battlefield was fire and ruin. Explosions lit the void, casting broken shadows across the wreckage of ships that once carried dreams, crews, and families. Humanity fought on, but every second felt like borrowed time. And yet, through all the chaos, one truth rang clear. The unknown ship was still there. It had not retreated. It had not cloaked again. Instead, it stood like a wall between Earth and the massive Zir dreadnought that now dominated the horizon. The alien warship was so large it seemed like a floating city, bristling with cannons and glowing with crimson light. It was death made solid. On the UES Valor, Admiral Reyes stared at the view screen in silence. His crew waited for his orders, but their eyes were locked on the same sight, the stranger's vessel facing the dreadnought head-on. "Admiral," whispered a young officer, her voice breaking. They're protecting us." Reyes swallowed hard. He could hardly believe it himself. This mysterious ship, whose name he did not know, whose builders he had never met, was putting itself between Earth and destruction. The Zir dreadnought began to charge its main weapon. A deep crimson glow pulsed along its surface, building into a storm of energy. Even from orbit, the humans could feel the power it carried. If that blast reached Earth, cities would vanish. If it hit the Valor or the fleet, the last defenders would be gone in an instant. "Brace for impact," Reyes ordered softly. His voice was steady, but his heart ached. The Zir fired. The crimson beam tore across the darkness like a god's hammer. It struck the mysterious ship full force. The void lit up in blinding red and white, so bright it turned night into day on Earth's surface below. The unknown vessel's shields flared. Rings of light rippled outward, trembling as they absorbed the energy. The soundless vacuum seemed to scream with tension. And then, the shields broke. The alien ship's hull cracked. Fire erupted along its sides, pieces of armor peeling away. Whole sections exploded, scattering debris into orbit. For a terrible moment, humanity thought it was over, that their savior had fallen. But when the light cleared, the ship was still there, broken, burning, but still there. It had taken the blast, and Earth was untouched. On the Valor, silence gripped the crew. No one breathed, no one spoke. And then a whisper rose from the back of the bridge. They held the line. The words spread like fire. Hope surged again, fierce and unstoppable. Humanity, inspired by the stranger's sacrifice, roared back into the fight. Pilots screamed into comms as they dove at the enemy, firing every weapon they had left. Frigates pushed forward, cannons blazing, even if it meant their own destruction. "We're not finished yet," shouted Reyes, slamming his fist against the railing. "Hit them with everything, for Earth!" The fleet responded with fury. Missiles streaked, railguns thundered, even damaged ships dragged themselves into range, firing their last shells before going dark. The Zir dreadnought, once untouchable, shuddered under the combined assault. The mysterious vessel, wounded but unbroken, fired again, a colossal beam of white light that carved into the dreadnought's side. The giant ship bled fire, armor ripping apart in great shards. Cheers erupted across human comms. "We're doing it! We're hurting them!" But Reyes knew this was not victory yet. The dreadnought still lived, still turned its monstrous guns toward them. Humanity was giving everything but their survival balanced on the courage of one ship, the stranger that had chosen to bleed for Earth. On the Valor's bridge, Reyes whispered quietly to himself, though no one heard. "Whoever you are, thank you." The mysterious vessel glowed faintly, its pulsing veins dim but steady. Even in ruin, it stood tall, refusing to yield. It was more than just a ship now. To the humans who watched, it was a symbol, a reminder that even in the darkest hour, someone had seen their worth. Someone had believed they deserved a chance. The fight raged on, but hearts had changed. Humanity no longer fought in despair. They fought with fire, with pride, with the strength of a species that had been pushed to the edge but would not fall, and, in that terrible beauty of war, the unknown ship stood at their side, bleeding for a world not its own. The Zir dreadnought burned, but it was not defeated. Its enormous frame still loomed across the battlefield, glowing with crimson fire as its weapons recharged. Each pulse of light along its hull promised death. Even wounded, it remained the largest predator in the sky. Terrifying, relentless, unstoppable. On the UES Valor, Admiral Reyes felt sweat run down his temple. His eyes locked on the view screen. The mysterious ship floated ahead of them, cracked and scarred, smoke pouring from its wounds. Yet even in its broken state, it faced the dreadnought without hesitation. "They won't last much longer," whispered one officer. Reyes nodded slowly. "Neither will we. So we make this count." The comms were alive with human voices, pilots screaming, captains calling out targets, cries of both victory and death. All around, the fleet was burning itself out. Humanity had thrown everything into this moment. There would be no retreat, no regrouping. The only path left was forward. The Zir dreadnought roared to life. Its central cannon lit up again, charging another devastating shot. The unknown ship moved, sliding directly into its path once more. The bridge of the Valor shook with awe and dread. They're shielding us again," shouted a crew member. Reyes slammed his fist against the console. "No, not this time. We fight with them, not behind them." He opened the fleet-wide channel. His voice thundered through static and fire. "All ships, this is Admiral Reyes. The stranger has bled for us long enough. Now we bleed with them. Focus fire on the dreadnought. Every last weapon, every last round. We end this here." The reply came not in words, but in action. Across the void, what remained of Earth's fleet surged forward. Fighters dove in fearless arcs, weaving between the dreadnought's guns. Frigates and cruisers pushed their engines to the limit, firing until their barrels glowed white-hot. Even broken ships, hulls barely holding together, turned their final strength into one last strike. The mysterious vessel pulsed with light, as if answering the call. Its weapons came alive, unleashing another blinding beam of white energy that carved into the dreadnought's side. The massive alien warship howled in silence, its armor splitting open. Missiles from the Valor followed, streaking into the wound. The explosion spread, tearing deeper. Railgun shells pounded the cracks, widening them into a canyon of fire. But the dreadnought fought back. Its smaller guns tore through human fighters, shredding wings of brave pilots in seconds. One cruiser was cut clean in half, its glowing remains drifting silently. The Valor itself shook under repeated blasts, alarms screaming, crew members gripping their stations with white knuckles. "We can't take much more, Admiral," cried the chief engineer. Reyes did not flinch. His eyes stayed on the dreadnought. "Neither can they. Keep firing." The battle became madness. Every second stretched into eternity. Humanity poured out its soul, every last ounce of courage, into the storm. The mysterious ship matched them, its hull glowing like a dying star, as it struck again and again, refusing to fall. Then, at last, the moment came. The dreadnought staggered. Its crimson glow flickered. The massive cannon that had threatened Earth went dark, smoke bursting from its core. "Now!" Reyes shouted. "All ships, now!" The entire fleet obeyed. Missiles, shells, beams, everything humanity had left, screamed into the dreadnought's open wound. The mysterious vessel gathered its last strength and fired one final shot, a beam brighter than the sun. The Zir dreadnought split apart. The explosion shook the heavens. Fire blossomed in silence, so vast it painted the void in red and white. Shattered armor drifted like falling mountains. The once invincible ship broke into 1,000 flaming pieces, scattered forever across the stars. The battlefield froze. For a moment there was only silence, no enemy fire, no human cries, only the distant glow of the destroyed dreadnought. Then, one by one, voices filled the comms. Cheers, sobs, laughter. Humanity had done the impossible. With the help of the unknown, they had destroyed the nightmare that sought to end them. On the Valor's bridge, Admiral Reyes let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. His hands shook. His heart ached. But his eyes shone with pride. "Earth stands," he whispered. The mysterious ship drifted in silence, its hull broken, its light dimming. It had given everything. And though victory had come, it was clear. The stranger was fading. Reyes stood tall, watching, his voice low but filled with respect. You saved us. Whoever you are, you saved us. The battlefield was quiet at last, where once the void had burned with fire and screams. Now only drifting wreckage remained. The Zir fleet was broken, scattered into fragments that fled into the dark. Earth, scarred but alive, still turned beneath the stars. Humanity had survived. On the UES Valor, the crew sat in stunned silence. For so long they had fought without hope, waiting for death, and now victory felt unreal. Consoles still sparked, alarms still flickered, but no one cared. They were alive. Their world was alive. Admiral Reyes stood at the center of the bridge, his hands gripping the railing. He had seen battles before, but nothing like this. His voice, when it finally came, was soft and filled with awe. We held them. We actually held them. But his eyes were not on Earth. They were on the stranger. The mysterious ship floated ahead of them, silent and broken. Its hull was torn in countless places, sections of it glowing red from damage. Entire decks hung loose, spinning slowly into space. The beautiful veins of blue light that once pulsed with strength now flickered weakly, like a heartbeat fading. They're not moving, whispered one officer. Reyes nodded slowly. No, they've given everything. For a long moment, no one spoke. The crew only watched, their hearts heavy. This vessel, whose name they did not know, whose people they had never met, had stood between Earth and destruction. It had bled for them. It had saved them. And now it was dying before their eyes. A hush fell over the comms. Across the battered fleet, ships lowered their weapons and slowed their engines. Pilots who had just moments ago screamed in victory now whispered in reverence. They all knew. They were witnessing the final act of their savior. Then, against all expectation, the mysterious vessel stirred. Its engines, faint and fractured, flared softly. The broken ship turned, slow and deliberate, as if gathering the last of its strength. They're leaving, said the young officer in disbelief. Reyes's chest tightened. They're not staying to claim glory. They're not asking for thanks. They're just going. The ship angled away from Earth, drifting toward the far edge of the battlefield. No signal came, no words, no explanation, only silence. The Valor's comm officer glanced at Reyes. Admiral, should we try to hail them? Reyes stared at the fading vessel. 1,000 questions burned inside him. Who were they? Why had they come? Would humanity ever see them again? He longed for answers. He longed to speak even a single word of gratitude. But something in his heart told him no answer would come. Let them go, Reyes said softly. They've done enough. The crew nodded, tears shining in their eyes. Some saluted even though the strangers could not see. Others whispered quiet prayers of thanks. Across the fleet, countless humans stood in silence, watching as the alien vessel drifted farther and farther into the stars. The mysterious ship's lights dimmed one last time. Then, with a ripple of distortion, it cloaked itself once more. Within seconds it was gone, vanished into the endless dark, as if it had never been there at all. The bridge of the Valor was silent. The void beyond was empty. But in the hearts of those who had seen it, something powerful remained. They believed we were worth saving, Reyes whispered. His voice trembled, but it carried through the bridge like a vow. And now we must prove them right. All around Earth, the surviving fleet echoed the same thought. Humanity was no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting to be worthy of the sacrifice that had been made for them. Below, on the planet's surface, billions looked up at the stars. Some saw only the wreckage, but others swore they saw a flash of blue light, fading into the horizon like a farewell. The war was not over. The Zir would come again. But humanity had been given something priceless: time and hope. and in that hope was a fire that no enemy could ever extinguish. Admiral Reyes straightened, his shoulders heavy but unbroken. He turned to his crew, to his people. We rebuild, we rise, for Earth, for them. And so, beneath the silent stars, the story of a nameless ally became legend. A ghost ship that came when all seemed lost, fought beside them, and vanished without a trace. But every soul on Earth carried the memory, and they knew, no matter how far the darkness spread, that they were not alone.